1 in 5 students have taken study drugs. It's exam season and final assessments are due, and basically students just have a lot on their plate right now, which means that demand for study drugs is going to be pretty high as well. Some of them are illegal, like speed, but most of them are legal, like ADHD medications, Ritalin and Adderall, and the narcolepsy medication Modafinil. I've come to Bristol to find out why students are pushed to take them, what universities could be doing better, and if students are taking them, what they should know. First, I'm going to go and chat to 2 students who've taken them before. The 2 girls I spoke to chose to remain anonymous. How did you get to be introduced to study drugs?
So in my first year I was in a group chat, sold anything from acid, synthetic shrooms to study drugs like Modafinil and Ritalin. Had heard about it and I was like, you know what, I haven't done any work all year, I probably won't pass this year. So I ended up getting some.
So when I was in first year, I was hanging out with some third years and they basically introduced me to the idea. Yeah, so just from hanging out with people who'd been doing it before, I guess.
What did you get?
I got Modafinil and I actually picked up the Modafinil in the library from the person that was selling it. So we met up at a corner of the library and literally did it in the library.
When you picked it up, when you took it, what was the experience like?
Really intense, and I'd kind of describe it as whatever you're doing within the first hour of taking it is what you're going to be focusing on. You don't really move from your seat apart from to sort of drink water. You completely lose your appetite, which is where I went wrong. I was taking it sort of every day, and you know, you fast forward 2-3 weeks and like you're starting to notice the effects. Like physically, I got very thin, very ill. Before this, I looked at some of my texts that I'd sent, just typed in Modafinil, and I was like, I haven't been able to eat in 3 days living off juice. I think it's the Modafinil. Some of the other texts said, yeah, but I managed to get all my work done. It was like a dream, and it's just like, that just shows how much of a positive effect it has on your studying, but such a negative effect on everything else. It's not a healthy way to do it.
I would also say, personally for me, and this is something that you don't necessarily realise until you've done it, is that it messes with your contraception, like your pill. So I didn't realise, but for the 2 weeks or something that I was doing Modafinil before exams, I wasn't protected on my contraception pill.
Do you think that the university should be doing more to make people aware of the side effects?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I had no idea, and I, was freaking out at the time. I was, oh God, what have I done? I didn't know that. Maybe I wouldn't have done it if I'd have known.
After chatting with the girls, I couldn't help but wonder if there's anything more universities could be doing to stop students getting to the point where they feel like they have to take study drugs to keep up. I'm going to go chat to Seb, who's the undergraduate education officer at Bristol SU, to see what he thinks of it. What else could universities be doing to help students with this?
I just think the universities have a bigger role to play in making sure that students taking study drugs is not simply about trying to catch them out or trying to make sure that they're not doing them, but looking at themselves and thinking, what can we do better to make sure students are able to study and be assessed healthily and within the time that they want to give to their assessment, while they can still go out and have a life and have a career, rather than thinking they have to give all their daytime and then all their nighttime to this without getting a break. And that's the conversation we need to be having more, because in terms of education on drugs, we're doing a Bristol SU and Bristol Drugs Project are doing a great job at that. But what can we do to make sure that students are studying in a more fulfilling and healthy and normal way?
I'm going to go chat to Bristol Drugs Project, who are partnered with Bristol Uni, to find out what students should know if they are taking study drugs.
First place I always go to is knowing what you're taking. So there's a brilliant service called Unis, which is a postal drug checking service. So you can send them a sample of whatever drugs you're planning on taking. They will test them and post a result on their website. So you at least know that what you're taking is actually Modafinil or Ritalin or whatever. So they're stimulant type drugs, so that means they generally stop you being able to sleep whilst they're still kind of active in your body. Obviously not sleeping is really bad for your concentration, and you then get stuck in this kind of cycle of, I can't concentrate because I'm tired, so I'll take a modafinil, but now I'm more tired and I can't concentrate still. I think people don't make the most of the wellbeing services that are available, or extensions on essays and things like that. There's no need to take study drugs if you can just ask for an extra week.
At what point does it become worrying?
A good way to think about it is, if you can't imagine getting your work done without them, you probably need to just like take a little step back and do all of that other stuff, and just reaching out for support at that point's kind of the best thing to do. Yeah.
It seems like the journey around study drugs and pressure in uni is going to be a long one. I'll leave the link to Bristol Drugs Project and Wednose in the caption. And if you are finding yourself reaching for study drugs this year, remember that there's always welfare on campus if you need someone to talk to.